Have you seen Star Wars?
A new book from Lucasfilm creative executive Pablo Hidalgo titled Star Wars Fascinating Facts has revealed that when George Lucas left story treatments for Disney back in 2012 on how his story of the sequel trilogy would have gone, in this episode 8 under George Lucas, he would have also killed off the legendary Luke Skywalker, Jedi Master, and of course we all know that Luke also died in the Disney Star Wars film, The Last Jedi. And this throws an odd, but yet what I would consider a simple wrench into the topic of Luke in The Last Jedi. A lot of defenders for the sequel trilogy, or even The Last Jedi, are now saying things like, see, even George Lucas was gonna kill Luke. Ha ha. And basically they're arguing that anyone being upset that Luke has died has no real argument against The Last Jedi anymore, because no matter what, he was going to die. It was just going to happen at this point. Now I think if this news that Lucas would kill off Luke shocks you, or that Lucas killing off Luke changes your opinion on The Last Jedi, then you're not understanding the point of debate people have surrounding Luke in the sequels, and primarily The Last Jedi. So first things first, I think it's been heavily hinted at by Lucas and others since 2012 that he would have at least killed off Luke. We don't know about the other original trilogy characters, and so this shouldn't be the biggest shock to everyone in the world. Everyone's coming at this with some big surprise, and some people are even denying that this is actually true, but I really don't think this is something that's too shocking. I think if you know Lucas as a writer, I think you've been paying attention to what he's been saying over the past 8 years, this shouldn't be a big deal to you. But killing off Luke does not bother me, and nor should it bother you. The problem that I had with The Last Jedi is not that they simply killed off Luke Skywalker in that movie. People die, and that's a natural part of life, and it should be expected with a character like Luke, because he would be passing on the torch to a new generation of Jedi, and, in the sequel trilogy at least, a new hero. But like me, many fans did not like how Luke died in The Last Jedi, and the character portrayal of Luke in the film. He basically gave up on life and tried to kill his nephew in his sleep because homeboy was looking a little bit too dark that night. In Return of the Jedi, he would have died to redeem his father, and almost did die by the hands of Emperor Palpatine. The only time he lashed out in fear or anger while using the dark side was at the thought of Vader turning Luke's sister Leia to the dark side. So we go from a hero willing to sacrifice himself for his friends, and most importantly his family, to someone who turns his back on his friends and family while also trying to kill a family member before attempting to redeem the poor kid. And I know that we can argue about Luke's character in The Last Jedi and whether we agree with the choices or not. That's an argument we've been having since 2017, and it will probably never go away. But I think it's a bad faith argument to say that no one liked The Last Jedi or the Luke Skywalker arc in that film simply because Luke died. Personally, I was not a fan of Han Solo's arc in The Force Awakens, despite me thinking that he kind of carried the entire film. But with that aside, his death felt solid while not really building too much on the emotional scale. The death of Han Solo still made sense on a story level that had an impact on the story and our characters for the next 2 films. But after The Force Awakens, it's mildly annoying to kill off Luke in the immediate next film, despite the character arguments people will make and debates that are going on. There's a difference between, killing off Luke in Episode 8, the version that George Lucas is making for the sequel trilogy, but keeping Han Solo alive and Leia alive till Episode 8 and 9, maybe even beyond. But when you kill off every single original trilogy character, in Episode 7 you kill off Han, Episode 8 you kill off Luke, Episode 9 you kill off Leia, and then even though we know Carrie Fisher sadly passed away, it's things like that that kind of annoy a lot of fans, because it's like, okay, what's the goal of this trilogy? Is it to pass the torch, or is it just to burn the last one? This is probably one of the biggest annoyances I have with the Star Wars fandom that really grinds my gears. It's this notion from a large part of the Star Wars fandom, and this is coming from the sequel defenders, maybe even sequel trilogy fans, and mainly prequel defenders, prequel fans, that if George Lucas does something, then it is either 100% a good idea, or it defeats any critique and argument someone has about a fault in a Star Wars film. Now, let's say George Lucas did make the sequel trilogy films, and in his Episode 8, he turned Luke into a failure who gives up on life and basically betrayed everything that was established with his character in the original trilogy. Me personally, Star Wars only, I would still openly say that Lucas made a mistake and that was a wrong route to take the character of Luke Skywalker. The problem people have with Luke's death is not how he died, but the events that led up to his death, and to act like that's not the case is just a bunch of people acting childish by pretending there's no arguments against Luke's character in The Last Jedi and that they're no longer valid because Lucas would have killed off the character too. Lucas is not beyond making mistakes, and if you look at the original trilogy, especially if you look at the prequel trilogy, you can see the man makes plenty of mistakes, and I don't care how many fans of Star Wars there are that try to pretend that the man can do no wrong. I think you're the wrong kind of fan for this franchise by believing the creator of the franchise is beyond mistakes. If Lucas did exactly what Rian Johnson did with Luke in his version of Episode 8, there would still be a lot of people complaining about how the character arc was executed. And when it comes to George Lucas' sequels, I'm almost confident that he would have had Luke in a similar situation where he was hiding out from the dark side, but hopefully Luke still would have had a Jedi Order with him and maybe would have still felt a little in character. But hey, maybe Lucas would have followed the same story path of Rian Johnson. He called The Last Jedi a beautifully made film. And as a filmmaker who likes editing and cinematography, I could see why Lucas would say that. That's kind of his route and his niche aspect of filmmaking that he loves. It would be nice to ask George what he really thinks about The Last Jedi, The Force Awakens, and even The Rise of Skywalker, and poke his brain on what he would have done similar or different to The Last Jedi and mainly the sequel trilogy. But maybe one day we will know the full story about the George Lucas sequel trilogy. I remember asking Pablo Hidalgo myself if he had read the story treatments by Lucas that he left for Disney in the sequel trilogy, and he confirmed that he has read them. And he even said himself, I remember him saying something like, I would like Disney to kind of put that out there, like not as a, you read it as George Lucas wrote it, but kind of turn it into a story and let fans know basically everything that Lucas put down. The silver lining in all of this is that we now know that the story treatments by George Lucas for the sequel trilogy exist over there in the Lucasfilm vault. And maybe we'll have to pull a fanboys movie move where we sneak into Lucasfilm and read it for ourselves. If anyone wants to take up that mission to task, hit your boy Star Wars Only up, because that's my type of adventure. But comment your thoughts below on George Lucas killing off Luke Skywalker in his version of Episode 8. Do you think he would have done it better, similar to The Last Jedi, or completely unexpected route no one could predict? Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment below, or subscribe, because it does help the channel out. I'm Star Wars Only. I will see you all next time, and may the Force be with you always.